here at Morwell Ham, they're helping to keep the past alive with examples of traditional skills and craftsmanship. But as David Stafford found out, this isn't the only place in the southwest where the old trades still get people fired up.
There are still, thank goodness, small corners of England where the Industrial Revolution never took hold, and all those upstart ideas of Watt and Newcomen are cast aside in favour of red flame and raw muscle. In the village of Caidley, just up the road from Tiverton, stands the forge of Dean Aggott, Blacksmith, where I'm hoping to learn something of the smithy's mysterious art. It's dirty, sweaty, old-fashioned industry. I mean, presumably this sort of scene hasn't changed much in the last, 200, 300 years?
Basically, nothing really has changed since the Vikings were first doing it.
The Vikings?
Yeah.
So Hagbard the Horrible could come in here and make himself a sword. He'd know exactly what he was doing.
He'd recognise virtually everything we've got here. When you start forging, it's such an absorbing thing to do, and you're working with fire and hot metal, and it just becomes a passion.
Dean's next job is a tricky one, restoring these crumbling 17th century windows at St George's Church in Tiverton. But first, he's got to get them out.
Because we've never done anything with these type of windows before, we're not really sure how they're put together or how they're fitted in. They might have put the frame in as they were building the building, which might make it a very difficult one to get out. We'll get there. We'll get there. Not going to open it probably 100 years. Basically, we take the frame apart. Here, all these infill bars come out. Then the main frame comes out, and we take it back down to the forge, where we start restoring it all, put it all back to as it should be.
Dean, the specialist in historical restoration, has recently made a surprise discovery about his own family history. He'd already been a blacksmith for years when his mom dropped a bit of a bombshell.
She was looking around, and she was looking very curiously at all the things hanging on the walls and looking at the equipment I had set up. And she just turned to me and said, "This looks very familiar." And she remembered it from her childhood, from going to the family forge, but she'd virtually forgotten about it.
And this is the first you knew that there was a family forge?
That's it. It'd never been mentioned before. First of all, I started by sort of discovering that it went back a couple of generations, and then I found other records taking it back into the 1700s, then the 1600s, right the way back to the mid-1500s.
So this is a 500, 600-year tradition?
That's when the records run out. Who knows how long it goes before that.
Extraordinary. Even more extraordinary, his blacksmith antecedents had all lived and worked not far from Dean's forge, in the village of North Taunton, where evidence of them still survives. How does it feel? I mean, you're still you're in this craft, you're in this trade, and there's the old forge. How does that feel? That you've got that family connection to this place?
It's quite amazing that it's still there, and it's a sense of belonging, I suppose. That we're still doing the same thing that's happened here for hundreds of years. Remember when we built this one? Gosh, that was a while back.
And the family trade looks set to move down another generation. Dean's son, Liam, grew up in the forge and started working metal when he was just 5 years old.
You were my extra pair of hands then? Yeah, always need an extra pair of hands for this sort of thing. That's it. As soon as he was able to pick up a hammer, I've encouraged him to do so. I've not forced him at all to take it up, and he's off doing his thing now. But there's a spark there, there's a twinkle in his eye when he picks up the hammer. So maybe one day he'll come in. If you could just put that clamp on that end while I hold this end.
Yeah, so many people do different things and move around the country these days, and to have a hold in one place and to really feel that sense of history, I think is great. So I definitely keep it on, and hopefully, even if it's not running as a business, it will be here as as something that's done as a just to keep it going, keep it alive. Definitely.
I mean, is there something I could learn, something I could do?
Yeah, I think there is. There's only a few processes within the whole blacksmithing remit, so if we do something that takes on, say, half of them, something like a little snail.
Wow. You think I could make one of these?
I think you could.
I would be so inordinately proud of myself. So, what are we doing then?
We're going to make this snail. The first thing we need to do is take the piece of metal, and we're looking for a nice bright red, orange colour.
And you completely judge the temperature by eye?
It is all done by eye.
Yeah.
Lay it nice and flat on the anvil surface, up to the edge.
Up to the edge?
That's it. Yeah. And then a slight angle on that.
Slight angle about like that?
That's the one.
Good.
Yep. That's it. Right, and then turn it up and bring it back in on itself slightly. Stand her up together.
All right.
A little bit tighter in there. That's it.
Oh, that's better.
That's it. Right, you have.
Ta-da! There it is, Bishop's Mitre. Brilliant! I don't know about you, but I'm very impressed. Dean's finishing it off doing the tail for me. The reason for this is because my arm is now paralysed from hammering. But I'm no less of a man for that. I am immoderately, unreasonably proud of this little snail, and it's a marvellous feeling to be working in that elemental way that they were working in right back to the Iron Age. The Vikings were doing it, the Greeks, the Romans were doing it with exactly the same techniques. Of course, a lot of Dean's work is slightly more sophisticated than this, but even so, sadly, it often passes unnoticed.
The better job you do, the less you can see you've done. People say, oh, you've repainted that, have you? And you've totally rebuilt it. But it's a compliment.
And it's a compliment he's hoping to get for the church windows, which are nearly finished, and Dean's uncovered a bit of historical treasure.
There's a few interesting things that we found out with these since we've been working on them. Taken off some of these bars to extend the rusted out pieces, and come across some interesting maker's marks. We haven't identified who they are yet, but they are obviously the people who made them in 1717 when they were first made.
Dean's last task is to add his own stamp, securing his place in the church's history, and the windows are ready to go back into the church, the culmination of 3 months' work.
Here we go. It's nice to think that the chaps who made this originally, probably their ancestors, their descendants don't know that their ancestors made it. It was so long ago, but their work is still here, and it's nice to feel that my work will still be here in several hundred years' time.
Job done, and the new windows should be good for at least another 300 years. And while the future of Meadow Forge might be less certain, for now at least, Dean will keep doing what he was born to do.